If you're watching this video, your organization has some compliance efforts in place, but you want it to be rock solid. If this isn't you, click off this video. The data shows that companies that invest in privacy and security protections can increase their profits by 5 to 10x and reduce costs related to breaches, cyber insurance, fines, and reputational damage. The methodology I've developed has been proven to reduce legal and consulting costs by 70%. I've seen companies lose sales deals, watched M&As fall apart, and even had regulators at their door issuing hefty fines. I'm about to show you a game-changing methodology that can unlock millions in untapped revenue and transform your business forever. I want to give you a bunch of free advice today that took me thousands and thousands of hours to understand and synthesize into this methodology. You want your company to have the best privacy and security posture in your industry, and I'm going to cover why this is so critical in today's market. My name is Rebecca, and I'm a privacy and security expert who has 15 years of experience in providing strategies to implement across a variety of companies. Those companies include hardware, SaaS, tech, and AI. Those companies ship products to billions and millions of users across the world. I have worked at brand name top Fortune 100 companies such as Dropbox and Meta. I've had the privilege of helping multiple companies in the 9 to 10 figure range build out compliance programs that don't just check boxes. They drive real ROI and instill real confidence in their teams, boards, and buyers. I'm going to show you a smarter, more strategic way to build it out. One that makes your customers feel safe, strengthens your brand, and turns your trust into revenue. It's the same approach that's helped companies boost their reputation, close more deals, and rise to the top of their respective markets. I want to talk a little bit about why I started Sale Trust and kind of the vision behind it. So I was working at a tech company, and I saw this both in tech, biotech, and at law firms over the multiple years. They would bring in consultants, typically the Big Four, sometimes a law firm. They would bring in junior associates or attorneys who really didn't have the expertise in that area, and they would bill month after month after month, never actually solving the problem. So I saw this time and time again, and it was super frustrating. And so I was actually one of those people responsible for the consultants. I would sign multi-million-dollar contracts with a Deloitte or a KPMG or an Accenture, only to find them throwing junior associate 2 to 3 years out of college, and me having to train, manage, and mentor these folks on top of my existing team and existing responsibilities. This model didn't really work, and we would spend multiple millions of dollars a year on not an outcome and not a solution. So why I started Sale Trust was to actually bring in privacy experts to come in, drive a solution, build out a program or a technology or a process, and automate it and leave. The goal is not for a team to be there month after month and to burn budget and burn money for the company. The goal is to actually make the company compliant and leave. So there should be a fee associated with that, and then the solution should be delivered, presented to the company, and it should actually solve for privacy issues, whatever issues they may be facing. So what is this new way of doing compliance? I want to share with you how we help one company through a situation using our methodology. This client is a global hardware company that sells printers. They were caught off guard when a buyer expressed interest in acquiring their digital front-end solution. They really just panicked, thinking they weren't ready, but they brought me in, and together we pulled off what felt like impossible. We got every piece of critical compliance documentation ready for the M&A in just 6 weeks. It was really just crazy, and this was one of the fastest turnaround times I ever had experienced. This resulted in a $600 million sale. If we had not been prepared for the deal, it would have dragged on for months, and it may not have gone through if the LOI expired. If they would have engaged with a Big Four consulting firm, this would have cost them millions of dollars and tons of time for their internal M&A Tiger team, who was already at capacity. Now, they were working round the clock on the core elements of the deal, so having to deal with compliance was like another area of focus that they didn't want to be pulled away from their job. So that's why they brought me in, to really focus on the compliance piece and run that part of the M&A process. Pulling in a Big Four would have resulted in the loss of the sale or just dragging out the team for months versus a quick close. What we did to them was we utilized the clear path methodology. Step 1, we came in and did the rapid assessment of their compliance posture. This gave us a snapshot of where the gaps were so we could quickly start working on the aspects to get the deal closed. We didn't need to boil the ocean. We needed to focus on the biggest impact areas that would get them to close this deal. So now I want to talk about the same exact company, but a completely different compliance scenario that they faced, where they brought my team in to help them. So this was around the EU market growth and how we turned their compliance posture from net negative to highly positive. They came to us with this huge opportunity, an equally big roadblock. They were receiving floods of interest from European prospects, but every deal hit the same wall: compliance. Despite their impressive offerings, they were not fully aligned with the GDPR, and that gap was enough to stall conversations, erode trust, and ultimately lose deals to their competitors. They brought us in to figure it out. What we uncovered was a critical bottleneck. They had no clear roadmap for privacy compliance, no structured tracking in place, and we were relying on a generic lawyer-drafted privacy policy that didn't hold up under real scrutiny. We stepped in and built them a strategic compliance roadmap tailored specifically for the EU market. At the center of that plan, we obtained the Data Privacy Framework Certification, a powerful public signal of trust that EU companies recognize immediately. Once certified, their profile was listed on the FTC website, which served as an external validation that they had met essential handling requirements for EU customers. What happened next was a game changer. They transformed compliance from a blocker into a marketing weapon. Sales teams started showcasing the certification early in the process, signaling credibility before objections could even form. As a result, their deal close rate skyrocketed from 30 to 70%, and they quickly began outpacing competitors who couldn't even show the same level of assurance. Even better, the time it took from proposal to signed statement of work dropped by 10 days. No more back and forth with legal, no more delays, just proof. I want to stress this. They were already doing $500 million in revenue a year. This wasn't a scrappy startup. They were a major player in their market, and yet they hadn't cracked the compliance code until we built it with them. After the data privacy certification, they started closing 70% of their EU deals, nearly doubling where they had started. Now, maybe you're just in a similar place. Maybe you have no program set up, you're not tracking anything, and your privacy policy hasn't been updated in years. And that's okay. It's overwhelming to think about everything that has to be done, but I'm here to tell you, it's not as complicated as it seems. Follow the framework I've laid out above, and you can turn privacy compliance from a drag into a deal-winning engine. Doesn't it piss you off how someone like the client I just described, who simply got their data privacy certification and had no prior privacy knowledge, was now increasing their revenue by 40% in the EU by simply getting a certification? You've been in the game for a hell of a lot longer and probably have a better product and understanding of your company's privacy posture than my client did at that time. But no matter how hard you try, you still can't seem to increase your sales. That would piss me off too. But let me show you exactly how they were able to do that so quickly. You should already be very, very familiar with this one by now. But the big four consulting companies like the KPMGs, the Accentures, they'll come in, charge you millions of dollars, and throw junior associates at the problem with no real action plan or strategy to achieve compliance. Their plan is to drag out the engagement, bill more hours, keep signing SOWs, which is only going to find you in the same situation as when you started with them. Mark my word, I was the person in big tech hiring these companies, signing the SOWs, billing out engagements, managing these junior associates, only to find we're in the same position as where we started, and I had to go in and fix their messes. Don't make that mistake. I have fallen into this trap while working in big tech companies, as I just noted, and I always found myself digging us out of a hole just to get to the outcome. Can you see how different your business will be when you've got privacy compliance buttoned up? Getting the certification is easy, simple, and repeatable. Once the core elements are in place, it's easy to renew every year, and your company's name will show up on the certification list that any prospective client can see. See how it's completely different and exponentially better than anything you've tried before? Once you get your compliance program in place, you'll be able to use this as a sales weapon. You'll no longer have to worry about responding to potential customer inquiries on whether you have your core elements of your compliance program in place. You will be able to speak confidently about your company's stance on users' trust, and you no longer need to stay up at night worrying about your critical data being compromised. By dialing in your privacy compliance, you will have a competitive edge and be able to close deals faster. So after launching, getting your program in place, and being able to show your compliance and that your product area is built with privacy in mind, you will have a competitive edge over the market. You'll never have to worry ever again about whether your product is compliant or not. Now I'm going to cover the clear path methodology and how we're going to get you to compliance using this framework. So the first step at the top of the funnel here is the rapid assessment of your compliance posture. Why is this so important? So the rapid assessment gives us a baseline of where your company's at. Maybe you have a privacy policy in place, maybe you have some programs in place, but this helps us understand and gives my team a snapshot of everything you're doing and where the gaps are. And then we can go in and rank the highest to the lowest and prioritize it with you and your team to understand where we need to resolve any major gaps. So that's the first step. Once we go in and do the rapid assessment, we can build out the strategic roadmap. So that's the second stage. And this is something you can keep as a company. It's going to give you a 6 to 18 month roadmap of what needs to be accomplished. And of course, not everything on that roadmap needs to be completed, but I'm going to point out the most critical things you need to do to get to the next stage and get to the outcomes you want to. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. So the strategic roadmap is going to get you the baseline understanding of what needs to be done. So one company we worked with, we built out their strategic roadmap. They had 60% of their program built out for a specific product, but we found that it was missing one critical item. And this was a hardware device, a pair of glasses, where we realized this was going to be worn out in public. And one critical piece of data that we got back from user feedback groups, this was a bigger company and they had all this research already done, was the fact that we needed to have a display indicator showing that the glasses were on and recording and taking photos. So that was something that came out of that strategic roadmap. And we were able to implement it with that product team to ship the product with a bystander light indicator showing that we had privacy built into this product. So that's just one example of how we've implemented it. Now that pair of smart glasses is the #1 selling glasses in the world. So that was definitely a differentiator and it showed that the company cared about privacy. All right, the next item is building and automating your privacy program. So that's going to be the next step. And that's where we come in and actually implement the processes, the procedures, train your team, show them how to run it and think about privacy and embed it in all of your processes. So once everything is stood up and everything's in place, we want to make sure it's part of your company's DNA. So by building and automating it into your tooling and systems, and there's various ways we can do that depending on the type of company and the investment, this is going to help you scale future state. This leads us to the outcome we're looking for. So these are the outcomes we are looking to achieve after going through this process. And that is increased revenue, scaling your business, increasing trust, and M&As. These are like the core things I've seen as a result of this program and framework. We've seen revenue spike after coming in and building trust, getting certifications, depending again on the type of company and the posture of the company, what you want to pursue, but we will lay out that whole roadmap for you. We've seen companies scale into other regions, into other countries, into other markets even. And then lastly, you see users' trust go up. You know, we all remember things like the Equifax breach or the Ashley Madison breach. And when those things happen, as a consumer, I mean, I can speak for myself, I lost trust in those companies. Imagine the poor users of Ashley Madison. Of course, they thought their data was confidential. They thought it was encrypted. Come to find out, it was breached and shared with the public. So as some of you might know, that was like an affair tool or an affair platform. So imagine you're having an affair and your family and or husband or wife doesn't know about it. And now that's publicly out in the world. And there there were executives involved in that data breach. So that was very damaging. Nobody's going to want to go back and use that type of tool or platform if they can't trust it. And this is becoming more and more pervasive. Similarly, the Equifax breach. Nobody's going to go and create an account, even though that's like your data's in Equifax. You're not going to go and utilize that platform knowing your data's been shared with the world. So that's something I really want to hone in on, is user trust, because that's becoming more and more pervasive in a world filled with data. Lastly is M&A. I've seen companies who went through this be able to turn around M&As in 6 to 10 weeks and provide all the compliance documents to close $500, $600, $700 million deals with ease. They're focused on the financials, getting the deal right, getting the numbers right. Well, we can go in and just give them the data from this process and be able to close the deal. So that's the outcome of the ClearPath methodology that we use for privacy compliance. The differentiator here is our process and funnel is run by privacy and security experts, not lawyers, not high-cost consulting firms. We were able to cut legal and consulting costs by up to 70% with the companies we worked with. We're also able to increase their revenue by 10 to 15% by expanding into new markets. And so that's where this comes into play. Why does this work so powerfully across every single industry? Because most companies completely overlook it as they grow. If you're scaling or you're already selling globally, you haven't put these critical pieces in place. You're skipping a step that could protect everything you've built. This isn't just about compliance. It's about trust, like I talked about before. It's about preventing future damage. It's about protecting your customers' data from falling into the wrong hands and avoiding the kind of reputational and financial fallout that can take years to replace. Almost every company has unique IP, sensitive user data, and crown jewels that they don't want exposed publicly, which is why trust with your customer right here is so important. I want to cover one case study and how they utilize this framework. One company I worked with had a ransomware attack. It halted all of their services and operations, which triggered a ransom of 7 figures and a cyber insurance claim. So their operations stopped for 3 days. They had no access to their systems. They lost millions of dollars. Then they had to hand over a large payment to gain access back to their systems. Lastly, they had to claim this on their cybersecurity insurance, resulting in increased rates and now bringing in a team to build out protections across all of their systems after the fact, which of course costs a lot more. This could have all been prevented by being proactive and putting in the protections on the front end and understanding where those gaps were with the assessment. That would have saved them millions of dollars. This is a powerful new opportunity, one that most companies overlook until it's way too late. We've seen it time and time again. A data breach, a regulatory fine, or even a devastating cyber attack like the ones our former clients faced before they found us. It doesn't have to be that way. Our system not only protects your business, but also slashes your outside counsel, consulting, and cyber insurance costs drastically. The best part, it's already brought peace of mind and real results to many of our clients. You don't have to wait for a crisis to take action. With the ClearPath methodology, your company can build a strong, audit-ready compliance program in just 4 to 6 weeks without pulling your team away from their core work, no wasted time, no internal disruption, just faster, effective implementation with minimal lift from your staff. This methodology is built for ambitious companies, those looking to scale and grow their revenue, get acquired, or build lasting trust with their users, and sell more of their core products, especially those handling large volumes of user data or sensitive information. It's also for companies that are serious about protecting their critical business data from theft, breaches, and reputational damage. This is not for an indecisive business owner, early stage startups, or companies that aren't actively trying to scale from the ground up. If you're not interested in being recognized as a trusted leader in your industry, this isn't for you. If your revenue is under $5 million, you're likely still in the early growth phase, and that's okay. But chances are you don't yet have the budget to see the results at this level, and you're probably still operating from a scarcity mindset. This program requires commitment, clarity, and an investment mindset. No hesitation or shortcuts. And if you're a CEO or CIO looking for a quick fix or a one-size-fits-all compliance band-aid, this is not for you. Go watch someone else's videos. Because here's the truth. There's no such thing as sustainable success without real infrastructure and long-term thinking for your compliance. If you're serious about building a company that lasts, one that's built on trust, resilience, and real growth, then keep reading. You're in the right place. It's not your fault. You've been lied to, misled into believing that expensive law firms would come in and actually build compliance programs for you. But the truth is, they're incentivized to bill by the hour, not to solve your problems. So what you get isn't a tactical solution. It's a very vague, high-level advice that keeps you stuck. And the worst part, if they truly understood how simple and powerful it can be to launch a compliance program and understand where the gaps are within your company, they'd never tell you, because then you'd never need them again. If you hire one of the big four consultancies, here's what's really going to happen. And trust me, I know from experience. You'll get a team of well-meaning but junior consultants, folks with just a few years of experience who still need hand-holding and oversight. And yet you'll be charged like you're getting the A-team. The engagement will drag on for months, the deliverables will be generic, bloated, and underwhelming, and you'll end up pouring even more time and resources into fixing work that should have been done right the first time. I'm not guessing, I've lived it. I've sat inside some of the world's largest tech companies and watched millions and millions of dollars get spent on these types of projects, and I've made the same mistake myself. It's painful and it's avoidable. The same story plays out with expensive outside counsel. You pay top dollar for advice that sounds impressive in a memo, but leaves your team stranded when it comes to actually building something real. You get high-level guidance, lots of legalese, but no clear direction, no roadmap, no actionable plan, no help figuring out how to actually reduce risks and build a privacy program that works in the real world. It's incredibly frustrating. You're not just paying for advice, you're paying for progress. And too often you walk away with neither. You're probably afraid that you're gonna spend money on building out a privacy program and not see return, basically just pouring your hard-earned money down the drain. I used to think. You can actually do this. Even if it feels impossible right now, the amount of data you process, not being able to track across multiple departments, and not having the in-house knowledge to know where to start. All of this can be overwhelming. I've seen companies in all kinds of industries in chaos and uncertainty, thinking they were too far down the rabbit hole to catch up. But time and time again, we've turned it around. Now that you've seen how the ClearPath methodology can finally give you the consistency and predictability you've been searching for, how it's simple to launch, easy to scale, and can start delivering return within just 7 days of implementation, you're probably wondering, how can I apply this exact system to your own company? If you're truly serious about scaling and you're ready to solve your compliance challenges once and for all, book a call with me at the link below, and we'll walk through exactly how to plug in this proven, repeatable system into your business. So go ahead, click the link below, book your call, and let's talk soon. This could be the turning point you've been waiting for.